Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So this is going to be part one of us starting data types. Data types. So Bismillah. Before I start, wait, is it even recording? Just give me a sec. I know I do that often. Never mind. Okay. So um before I start talking about the official stuff, the stuff that is actually in the curriculum, I think it is important for you to understand one thing, and I promise I'm not going to take quite a lot of time, right? Imagine yourself as a businessman. Let's say this is you, right? And you are a businessman, man or woman, businesswoman, right? And you are running a business of dishes, right? Like you're selling cups. Well, I'm going to make a pretty bad cup, right? And you're selling glasses and stuff. There we go, right? And you're selling plates, right? And you're selling all this cutlery, all these dishes and stuff, right? And obviously, in order for you to be able to store all of this, because obviously you're not just going to, so no, you've got two things. You've got a shop, right? That is your shop, and the name is going to be Good Dishes. That is the name of your shop, and you sell these kinds of things: cutlery, utensils, kitchen stuff, and stuff that you eat in, dishes and stuff, right? Now you've got two things. Or rather, I must say, you've got three things. You've got, you know, how should I put it? You've got your products, the dishes and stuff. You've got your shop where you sit the entire day and you wait for customers to walk in, and then you sell them your products, right? You sell them your products. The third thing you have is a warehouse, right? You have yourself what? A warehouse. Okay. Now this thing, if you can forward the lecture if you want by a few seconds if you know what data types already are, but if you don't, then yeah, you should watch it. Okay. And now you've got yourself a warehouse. Okay. This is a warehouse. In the warehouse, this place you keep all of your products, right? Like for example, you've got tons of different dishes and stuff, right? You're not going to put all of that inside the shop, right? Some things are for sale right now, some things might be sale for later, right? But for now they're just bagged there in storage, right? That is where you put all of the warehouse stuff, right? So in the warehouse, you've got these boxes. Obviously, you're not just going to throw the dishes here and there, right? Why? Because stuff is going to be fragile. It might break. You don't want your stuff to break. So what do? You keep them in boxes. Never mind. You try to keep it all in boxes, in different boxes, right? One box has glasses, and you know what? When there are a couple of different boxes, you cannot see through the boxes, right? When you look at them, you need to know what's inside of them. And there are tons of different, there are dozens of boxes in your warehouse, right? So how do you know which box contains glasses and which box contains cutlery and which box contains utensils, right? So you write name tags, right? You write, for example, dishes, glasses, you can write cups, something like that. So you've got boxes, and on the boxes you write these name tags, right? And on some of these boxes you may write fragile, like for example, whenever you're trying to transfer from your warehouse to the shop, right? You need to make sure that the movers, handle them with care. They don't just throw it around, because if they do, then obviously, the glasses are going to break, and you don't want that happening, right? Why did I give you this scenario? Because I wanted to. Because I'm your teacher and I know, how I should be explaining. Never mind. That was just a joke, guys. Never mind. So, what do I mean by everything that I say? Now, these things, your products are what? These are the data. Think of it this way. Your products are your data. The boxes you're keeping the data in are the variables, right? And the tags or the names you write on the boxes, you can call them data types. Just think of it this way. So your products are actually the data, The boxes you're keeping these, data inside of them are variables, right? And honestly, you don't really need to know about variables because, I mean, you have already studied about them in O levels and especially in AS levels, right? And obviously the variables have their own names. And now each box, each variable, each data is of a type. So the tags and the names you write on the boxes are called data types, right? Now, for example, you have one box, you've got this one box inside of your warehouse, right? It's all, covered up in these, bubbly sheets, or you've got tape on it, right? You can open it. This is how it opens, and you've got tape. You've got, sorry, you've got black tape on it. And you've got bunch of different boxes like these, right? And you've got these tags, right? Glass, like it is said, and then you've got a couple of more boxes. So you have got all of the products, and now there are different categories of products. There are different, categories of products, and there are different, types of these products. And the type of each product determines how it should be dealt with. Now, let's say, for example, you've got a wooden furniture as well, or let's say you've got wooden dishes, wooden spoons, right? If you want, you can throw them around. I mean, you shouldn't be, but it doesn't have to be dealt with as much care as, the boxes labeled with fragile. A box containing glass utensils, or let's say, metal dishes, you can throw them around. They're not going to break, right? So you can throw them around. They don't have to be dealt with as much care, with as much with sorry with as sorry with as much delicacy, right? As the boxes which contain the glass stuff, because glass might break but metal and wood won't break, right? Or won't break that easily. Or you've got this box for ceramic, ceramic, I hope I'm writing the spellings right, or glass, right? These things are fragile, they might break, dealt with care, right? But wooden and metal, you know can be dealt more harshly, right? So the type, now look, so the products or data have got their own categories. Categories of data are called data types. That should make sense, right? And each data type determines how it's to be dealt with. The way it's dealt, the way it's treated depends upon its data type. I hope that scenario makes sense. This is exactly what we do in programming. In programming, every time you're storing data, there are types for data, you know, and there are types for data types as well. This is what we're going to be learning. This was just the basic stuff, right? Like, what are data types? And we just took just a few minutes to know, or to get to know what they were. And I spent literally 10 minutes on that. A few more minutes and then I'm going to end this lecture, okay? So, um, how many types of data types even are there? So these are what you call data types, right? And now data types in it of itself has its own types. Data types, and I would say there are types of data types, right? So if you understand this, I think this is enough, and then we're finally going to learn. You know what? Let me tell you these. The first type of a data type are built built-in data types. Or another word for it are primitive data types. Primitive data types, right? And now, as data has its own data types, the data type determines how the data is to be dealt with, you know. And I think it's enough for this lecture. That was just the unofficial things yet that I thought you should know before we jump on to the next lecture, or before we finally jump on to, the official terminology of the syllabus of 961A curriculum. I think that's it, and the rest of it is going to be in the next one. Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.